Riley Tufte is on waivers, and does this mean the Bruins are signing Tyler Johnson? Patra looks to be staying on the wing for the Boston Bruins in what looks like a must-win situation versus the Toronto Maple Leafs. So buckle up, Bruins fans. I'm here to give you the latest info on your beloved Boston Bruins. If you've been liking my Bruins content, please leave me a like and subscribe. If you've already done so, thank you, and let's get into it. The Boston Bruins have put forward Riley Tufte on waivers with the purpose of assigning him to Providence. Teams have until 2 p.m. Eastern today, which is October 26, 2024, to claim Tufte, or the Boston Bruins can assign him to Providence. Now, I spoke about this previously, as this is pretty much the only move the Bruins can do at this point, because if they send down Jones, who hasn't played well at all, he wouldn't get any cap relief. Only Tufte does if they send him down to Providence. I'm not sure if the Bruins even care if Tufte is claimed. I'm not saying they don't. I'm just saying I'm not sure if they do. But regardless, if he is or not, the Bruins will have $1.1 million in cap space. It's actually $1,108,460,000 in cap space, but 1.1 for now. What are the options then? Well, they could call up Fabian Lysell, who struggled at the start of this season in Providence, but has since started to find his game, or they signed Tyler Johnson. Lysell currently has 1 goal and 1 assist in 5 games this year in Providence, but also played last night. So it doesn't look like he will be the move the Bruins make with the extra cap space. The Bruins wouldn't have let him play last night if they planned on calling him up, because what if he gotten injured? Lysell to me needs more seasoning in Providence, as he struggled in the preseason, and that carried over into this start at Providence. He needs to show more consistent play before coming back up to Boston. He also needs to have a better north-south game. Could the Bruins use his speed and skill? Yes, but it should be about the kid's development and not playing 10 minutes a night in Boston just because they need that kind of speed and skill in their lineup. Him playing more top 6 minutes and power play minutes in Providence is so much better for his development. I'm not in the Fabian Lysell as a bus camp, because I see zero things wrong with learning their game down there. Lysell will be called up at some point this year because it's inevitable, but it doesn't look like it's right now. That only leaves the second option, which is to sign Tyler Johnson. The signing of Johnson has felt like a foregone conclusion at this point, given he's been practicing with the team in Boston since the start of the season. This is exactly what happened with Heinen last season, who signed with the Bruins on October 30th last season. Is Johnson going to be the savior? Not a chance, but he's going to be better than Tufte or Jones at this point. Heck, he's going to be better than Geekie or Brazeau. Johnson has had 12 years NHL experience under his belt, and he's a Stanley Cup champion. He brings speed and skill, not as much speed as Lysell, but more speed than some of the guys in their lineup right now. Johnson played well for the Bruins in the preseason and looked great for them on the power play, something that has struggled for the Bruins to start the season. Let's be honest, everything has struggled for the Bruins to start the season. Johnson could be a veteran presence in the room and help this leadership core right the ship and change the attitude of these players. Sometimes all a team needs is a new voice in the room, which can help change the feeling in the room and the play on the ice. Last season in Chicago, Johnson played 67 games, scoring 17 goals and getting 14 assists for 31 points. Right now, looking at the Bruins roster, I would take those stats in a heartbeat, because the Bruins are struggling right now to generate any offense. The team looks huge on the ice, but also extremely slow, and Johnson brings some speed and skill that would help with the cycle and zone entries. Johnson isn't the biggest player standing at 5'8". But for me, size doesn't matter. It's how you play the game. My dad was one of the shortest players ever to play in the NHL, and he had an 11-year career during the 70s, which was one of the toughest eras in hockey. The game has changed, and the toughness from the 70s turned into clutching and grabbing of the 80s and 90s to speed and skill game that we see now. You can barely touch guys now without getting a penalty, unless it's playoffs, because for some reason the NHL throws the rule book out once the playoffs start. Speed is something the Bruins desperately need in their lineup, because right now their lineup is to beat the Florida Panthers, which they've lost to twice already this season. I truly hate when GMs change the roster to go against one team, but this is the situation we're in. So many people wanted the big bad Bruins, but some people forgot to stop and think if we should. As much as I like tough hockey, those days are slowly leaving and more skill game is coming. Johnson adds that skill component, but where does he fit in the lineup? If you look at the practice lines from yesterday, you have the top line being Zacha, Lindholm, and Pasternak, with the second line being Marchand, Coyle, and Patra. I kind of like that second line and hope they do well. So that leaves where I think Johnson slots in, which is the third line, because Monty isn't going to touch that fourth line again, just like he shouldn't have in the first place. Your third line currently consists of Frederic, Geekie, and Brazeau. So my guess is either Johnson plays center on the third line or wing on the third line, meaning either Geekie or Brazeau come out of the lineup. If I was a betting man, and I'm not, you take out Geekie and slot in Johnson, especially if you're playing against the Leafs. Brazeau could help in the corners and add size on that line. I would think, though, that Montgomery would rotate between the two players to see where Johnson is the better fit. In practice, though, he has had Johnson play center, which is why I think Geekie is the odd man out. I think it's a foregone conclusion that Johnson will be signed, but I also don't think he is the answer to the issues that the Bruins have been struggling with lately. He doesn't hurt them, though, and he does make them better, only a slight bit better, but it's in the right direction. Let me know in the comments your thoughts, and if I'm off my rocker thinking the tea leaves point to Johnson signing today. That's a wrap on today's video. To stay up to date on all the news surrounding the Boston Bruins, please subscribe and drop me a like. If news breaks surrounding the Boston Bruins, be sure to check out the channel. If you've already subscribed to the channel, thank you, and I'll see you next time.